Hello, everyone. Welcome to our presentation on biohacking. My name is Serena. Jason, Jenny, Ryan, Matt, and Jonathan and I are going to be talking about hacking into medical devices. Just a brief overview. We're going to talk about continuous glucose monitoring devices, what they are, how they're used, the benefits to users, and also the vulnerabilities of these devices. We're going to go more into the vulnerabilities, talk about the risks, Bluetooth, and hacking into these devices. We're going to go into what can be done with these vulnerabilities. Is our medical data safe? We're going to go into how can these devices be more secure? How can we protect our medical data? And also, why should we care? How does this affect us? So our devices are becoming more connected. Things like pacemakers, glucose monitoring devices, vital signs monitoring devices are all becoming more connected with things like Bluetooth and NFC. These devices are used in hospitals as well as in people's homes. Healthcare professionals and patients value connectivity in medical devices because it makes things much easier. It can automate medical tasks, and it also allows healthcare professionals to check patients' medical information without coming into direct contact with them. And it also allows flexibility for the patients who can use these devices from the comfort of their homes instead of having to go and visit their healthcare professional. I'm going to now pass it off to RJ, who's going to talk more about continuous glucose monitoring.
Thank you, Serena. Now, one of the medical devices that is widely used and has proven to be a great asset for patients is known as a continuous glucose monitoring device, also referred to as CGM. The device is used worldwide with approximately 425 million adults ranging from 20 to 79 years of age. In terms of the global market, blood glucose monitoring devices, also referred to as BGMD, is valued at 12.6 billion and is expected to grow to 19.6 billion by 2028. Now, you might be wondering what a CGM device is. To put it simply, it's a wearable device that automatically detects and measures glucose levels 24 hours a day. It's inserted into a person's arm 24/7, and by using the companion mobile app, they can scan the device anytime, and their glucose levels are read and recorded automatically. The duration also varies between manufacturers. In our case, the device lasted for 14 days. I will now be passing it on to Jason, who's going to be talking about where and how a CGM is inserted.
You got it. Simply put, a GCM's function is done by a tiny sensor that has been injected under the skin. Once it's in, the sensor sends data to a transmitter that's been taped to the skin near that sensor to send data to a custom receiver or a third-party smart device. The user can wirelessly view their current glucose levels and trends, such as establishing a baseline of normal glucose levels and sending an alert when that normal limit is breached. Note that CGM devices will expire after a set time. Whatever reader is registered to the CGM will be updated on the expiry time as it approaches. CGM devices do have some share. An estimated 463 million people have diabetes worldwide, showing a global demand for some form of glucose monitoring. 2 million in the United States alone are currently using a CGM, so it's clear to observers that this solution is gaining some market share. Like anything else, CGMs are not completely secure. Allowing external communications through protocols such as Bluetooth or near-field communication leaves the device open to potential attackers. Data breaches have become commonplace in recent years, and wearable sensors are no less of a target. Allowing these devices to be accessed easily could put users' medical data at risk. Personal medical data could be desirable for hackers or other criminals in cases such as refined phishing attempts. As said, these devices have wireless connectivity capability through Bluetooth and NFC, among other ways. Up next is Matthew, who will expand on the different risks, the process of Bluetooth hacking, our own case study involving NFC, and some possible remediations for this risk.
Thank you, Jason. So as stated before, we are currently in a new technological era in which everything around us is connected to the internet. These connected devices are opening us to new and exciting possibilities, but that's not to say that they don't also come with their own set of challenges, the most important being security. These devices are susceptible to eavesdropping, denial of service, viruses, and many other types of attacks. The key takeaway is that all these devices that connect to the internet have numerous vulnerabilities, and this includes both Bluetooth and NFC. Bluetooth is a common term that many people have heard of, but not many people understand. Essentially, Bluetooth is a short-range wireless technology used for exchanging data. So, as you can see, there are many types of attacks for Bluetooth that hackers can use to steal your sensitive data: blueprinting, bluejacking, blue snarfing, blue smacking, blue bugging, and spoof toofing. To keep things simple, I'll explain the three most common attacks done by hackers: blueprinting, bluejacking, and blue snarfing. Blueprinting is the process of gathering information from Bluetooth-enabled devices, and this is an important process because the first step of breaking into any device is first understanding it. Bluejacking is the process of sending anonymous messages to Bluetooth-enabled devices within a certain radius. And finally, the most dangerous, blue snarfing. Blue snarfing is when a hacker pairs with a Bluetooth device without the owner's knowledge. This can enable an attacker to access the personal data, and in the case of a CGM, that would be the user's medical data. NFC stands for Near Field Communication and allows devices to share data over a short range without an internet connection. The big issue of NFC is that it was built with convenience in mind and not security. NFC, while typically less known about, are in many of our everyday items, such as cell phones and credit cards. So for our case study, we analyzed an NFC-enabled continuous glucose monitoring device. And because of this, there was no authentication process as you would see in a Bluetooth-enabled CGM. We also found that anyone can download the device's personal mobile app for free from any app store, scan the device, and have the medical data of the person wearing the monitor. Furthermore, the CGM can be scanned using any run-of-the-mill NFC scanner. The scan collects the device's serial number, manufacturer number, and a set of hexadecimal numbers. And these can all lead to vulnerabilities within the system. Another thing that we want to discuss is Bluetooth-enabled CGMs. While we didn't analyze the Bluetooth-enabled CGMs ourselves, it's important to know that a CGM enabled with Bluetooth transmits to anyone within range with a unique identifying information. This can lead to the user being tracked. Also, in 2020, there was a study done by researchers that found that a Bluetooth-enabled CGM was able to be injected with data. They were able to modify the glucose readings and even kill the sensor. Now on to Jonathan, who will finish up this section of Bluetooth sniffing and common vulnerabilities.
So for Bluetooth sniffing, there are ready-to-go Bluetooth sniffers. However, they can be expensive. There's a much easier way through Android devices. They have a tool that's called Bluetooth HCI. HCI Snoop Log. A Snoop Log is a log file that contains all the Bluetooth transmissions that you made on your Android. So this is very convenient, and then that information can be uploaded and analyzed just right onto Wireshark. As far as vulnerabilities go, the main concern would be that the device doesn't have any authentication, so anyone who has the companion application installed can scan any device. Additionally, the devices with Bluetooth capability broadcast a signal to anyone in Bluetooth range. So that's a common concern, and this signal contains unique identifying information that can be used to track an individual. Like any other technology, vulnerabilities are also being found all the time. Previous versions had a vulnerability that allowed writing to the devices with NFC, but this got patched in the recent version. So what can we do about these vulnerabilities? Would be our next question. And mostly it comes down to the dangers of Bluetooth and NFC enabled CGM, which allows the users to be tracked. Device readings can be tampered with, giving incorrect readings, and anyone can scan the device and get the wearer's glucose readings. Devices can also be tampered with by speeding up their expiration timeline, making them expire faster than intended. And then lastly, going to pass it to Jenny, who's going to talk about how these devices can become more secure.
So What are our recommendations to make these devices more secure? Well, first of all, we have to think about how security starts from the device's conception, meaning that one of the best ways that we can prevent incidents from occurring is to ensure that customers are buying the most recent version of a device with the most recent version of Bluetooth enabled. Another good tip would also be to make sure that your devices are covered if possible, which mitigates the threat of reconnaissance or the research of a potential target to find ways to exploit someone. Alongside this, it's on the job of the developers to keep security in mind from the beginning by testing all possible vulnerabilities before releasing them to the general public. Alongside this, we have options such as the new Bluetooth Low Energy, which is a relatively new Bluetooth standard that encrypts data from being transferred. So, why should we care about this? Well, first of all, what we care about most is making sure that the average people are able to keep their most personal data, such as medical information, safe. Conversations with all healthcare professionals are typically in a discreet one-on-one manner for this specific reason. But for perspective on this, imagine if you invited a stranger into a room with your healthcare provider, collecting and watching information that may last forever on the internet. Sounds scary, right? With the use of apps and home medical devices, this situation is becoming more and more possible. We need to ensure that patient privacy, alongside HIPAA laws, are both respected with rules and limitations on who can see someone's information. Many of these products are being created without security at the forefront of their design, meaning that some developers may not be doing their due diligence towards their very own customers' health information. Because we already give away so much of our information, we should know out more pieces of the puzzles for hackers to find our personal information and tailor their attacks for our specific vulnerabilities. These could be cases such as tailoring our healthcare scams towards unsuspecting victims, or the potential exposure of private citizens for their own health problems. With an increasing risk of insurance companies getting this data and therefore charging individuals higher rates due to this obtained information, we need to make sure that our medical data is not only secured for now, but as a preventative measure for our future technologies. With the medical devices becoming more and more integrated into our society, we need to continue to minimize bad actors wherever possible to ensure that everyone is kept safe.
Thank you so much, everyone. That's the end of our presentation. Have a good rest of your day.